This is the story of how MTV, the most powerful company in music, got there by spending almost nothing. When MTV launched on August 1st, 1981, it didn't own its programming. It didn't buy it either. Every music video the channel played was handed over by a record label for free, on request, because in 1981, the labels believed a music video was an advertisement. And you don't charge a station to run your own ad. That arrangement lasted about 3 years. By the time it ended, those same labels were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a video for the privilege of appearing on a channel they used to stock for nothing. And MTV, not radio, decided which songs in America became hits. To understand why the labels gave it all away, you have to understand how little anyone thought was at stake. MTV was a startup inside a joint venture between Warner Communications and American Express, and it launched with a problem that had no good solution. A cable channel needs programming. Programming costs money. MTV had a budget that would have bought it a few weeks of original television, and it needed to fill 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, forever. There was exactly one category of professionally shot, broadcast quality footage in the world that nobody was using for anything. Promotional music clips. British bands had been making them for years because British television had a chart show called Top of the Pops that would play a film if the band could not come into the studio. So the clips existed. They sat in label vaults. They generated nothing. MTV asked for them. The labels said yes, and they said yes easily, because from where they sat, this wasn't a negotiation. A record company's business was selling records. A video was a commercial for a record. A television channel offering to run your commercials around the clock at no charge in exchange for nothing is not a deal you think hard about. So MTV went on the air on August 1st, 1981, with a library of a couple hundred clips and a signal most of America couldn't even receive. Not New York, not Los Angeles, 800,000 homes in a country where cable reached one house in 4. The first thing it ever played was a song called "Video Killed the Radio Star" by the Buggles. Nobody involved thought that was a prophecy. It was just what happened to be on the shelf. For the first year, the arrangement worked the way everyone expected. MTV filled its hours. The labels got free promotion. Nothing changed. Then MTV went looking for an answer itself. A few weeks after launch, the channel sent people to Tulsa, Oklahoma, picked because it had one of the heaviest concentrations of cable subscribers in the country, to find out whether any of this was actually working. They walked into record stores and asked what was moving. The stores had sold out of the latest album by The Tubes. The Tubes weren't on the radio in Tulsa. The Tubes were on MTV, and it repeated everywhere the signal reached. Label executives watched bands with almost no airplay. Duran Duran, the Stray Cats, sell records in Spokane and in Lawrence, Kansas, cities that had no business breaking anything. Understand what that meant. A record company had spent 50 years believing that hits were made by radio, by promotion men, by relationships with program directors in every city, an enormous and expensive human machine. And here was a cable channel, barely a year old, that most of the country couldn't even receive, generating hits by itself, not helping, generating them. The proof case arrived shortly after. Duran Duran was a British band that had already failed to break in America. Their label sent them to Sri Lanka with a director named Russell Mulcahy, and what came back looked less like a promo clip than a film. MTV put it in heavy rotation. Duran Duran became one of the biggest acts in the United States without a hit single leading the way. It happened again with Culture Club, again with the Eurythmics, again with the Human League. The press called it the second British invasion and treated it as a musical movement. It wasn't a movement. Those bands won because they were the only ones who already had tape. Once the labels understood, they did the only thing they could do. They started making better videos. A promotional clip in 1981 cost something in the range of $20,000, and it looked it. A band on a soundstage, some coloured gels, a fog machine. 2 years later, the average had climbed to around 100,000, and the top of the market had come off completely. Directors were shooting on location, on film, with crews. And then Michael Jackson made Thriller. The Thriller video cost somewhere north of $500,000, directed by John Landis, and MTV played it as a television event. It was the moment the industry understood that a video wasn't a promotional tool anymore. It was the product. That single video moved more copies of the album than any radio campaign could have, and it set a new floor for what a serious artist was expected to spend. And every dollar of it was spent on the hope that a channel the label didn't own, couldn't control, and had once supplied for free would agree to play it. That's the whole trap. And it closed quietly. A label could no longer choose not to make a video because a record without one was invisible. But making the video guaranteed nothing. MTV decided rotation. MTV decided whether you were in heavy, medium, or light, and the difference between heavy rotation and light rotation was the difference between a career and a write-off. The labels had spent themselves into a dependency on a company that owed them nothing. MTV understood its position precisely. By 1984, it was signing exclusivity agreements with 3 of the 4 major labels, paying for windows in which no competing channel could air a video. A rival called the Discovery Music Network tried to launch and found that 3 of the majors had already locked their catalogues to MTV. Discovery sued. It never got on the air, and it settled 2 years later for legal fees. The Justice Department looked at the arrangement, so did the Federal Trade Commission. Both investigations were dropped. 3 years earlier, MTV had been calling record companies to ask if it could please have some tapes. Now the record companies were calling MTV, and they were paying for the privilege of asking. Here's what the labels actually gave away, and it was never the tapes. Before 1981, a song could succeed on sound alone. After, it couldn't. Every act signed for the rest of the decade was evaluated on a question that had never been part of the job. Does this person work on camera? Musicians who would have had careers in 1975 didn't get them in 1985. Others got careers they couldn't have earned in a recording studio. Madonna was the clearest example of this in either direction. A performer whose command of the camera was as important as anything she recorded, who understood from the beginning that MTV wasn't a place to promote a record, but a place to build a persona. The look of the decade, the hair, the shoulders, the saturated colour, wasn't a style anyone chose. It's what happens when a visual medium starts deciding who gets heard. And then the bill came due, in the one place nobody was looking. Record contracts run on recoupment. The label fronts the money, and the artist repays it out of royalties before seeing a dollar of their own. So when video budgets went from $20,000 to $100,000 and beyond, the labels wrote them into that same column. A music video wasn't a marketing cost the company swallowed. It was a loan against the artist's earnings, which means the real arithmetic of the decade goes like this. MTV got its programming for free. The labels fronted the production and then billed it back. And the person who actually paid to fill 24 hours a day on a cable channel, the one carrying the cost of the most profitable free content arrangement in the history of American media, was the musician. Who paid whether the video was good? Who paid whether MTV played it at all? An artist could sit in heavy rotation for a year, sell records in every market in the country, and open a royalty statement showing they still owed the label money. That wasn't a scandal. That was the contract working exactly as written. That's what this channel does. The business underneath the songs you already know. Subscribe for more of it, and please hit like if this one landed.